Hello everyone, welcome to Code Multiverse, one stop channel to learn about all the aspects of coding such as design, development, and deployment. My name is Kailash Valdotti. Okay, welcome to part two for databases, and today we'll be discussing about the topic shown on the screen. So we'll discuss about columns and data types, primary and foreign key, normalization. So under normalization, we'll discuss about first normalization form, second normalization form, and third normalization form. We'll also talk about what is denormalization, and then we'll go ahead and do a little bit of querying, and then we'll learn what do you mean by indexing transaction and store procedures. Transaction we have already discussed, but when we are talking about indexing transaction and store procedures as a whole, we'll just learn the differences between them as well. And then after that we will talk about access policies and SQL injection. And then finally ORM introduction is just because you will exactly know what ORM is, and then when you start using ORM libraries in your code, you will know what exactly you can expect from that. So going with the first topic, which is columns. So as I said, if you consider a student information to be inserted in database, considers first name, last name, date of birth, everything as columns. So that's as easy as that. And then when it comes to data types, we talked about string, number, boolean, and other object, other related data types in JavaScript. So similarly, you'll have data types in SQL as well. So they'll be called as varchar, bigint, int, you know and then you'll have JSON blob. Okay, you'll have boolean again. So they're similar. It's just that the naming convention is little different. You might because it is data type, so there is certain restriction how many characters you can store and stuff. Okay, otherwise they are all same. Okay, and then going forward, primary key, as said, when you say you are organizing an event and then you say this is the primary contact person's details, it means that if you call that person, they can tell you everything about that particular event, right? Yeah, so for example, you had a birthday party yesterday. Okay, so it was organized by someone, right? It was not, right? So yeah, if somebody asks you, oh hey there, I'm coming to that birthday party, so whom do I contact about that? You will say, contact this guy, contact Mr. X, and he knows everything about it, right? Because he's the primary contact for that. So when you say primary, it means that that person or that particular thing will give you information about whole thing, whole event which is happening. So similarly in databases, when you say primary key, that primary key is an identifier which will give you information about whole row. Okay, whole row. So column is the object property, row is the values which is stored. Okay, column is first name, last name, and date of birth, whereas row is Sumit Chakrabarti, and then say some 10th of July and 1997 is the date of birth, right? So that's your row. So what is your primary key there? It could be anything. It could be as simple as 1 2 3 4 because you are the first student there, or it could be uniquely identified by some other key. Maybe phone number is also could be also for primary key, assuming that each person will have a different phone number. Okay. Now, foreign key is again, it is similar. It's just that each student might have different addresses. Okay, he might have a residential address, he might have a rented address. So generally what you're doing, you're creating a one-to-m relationship and then storing addresses in a different table. Okay, one person has multiple address. Okay, but you need a way how you can map this addresses back to original person table or student table, right? So you will say you will create a foreign key. What is your foreign key? The primary key in your first table will become foreign key in your second table. You got it? So primary key is your student ID. So student ID is your foreign key in your address table, because address 1 is associated to what? Is associated to student 1. Address 2 is associated to student 1. Address 3 is associated to student 2, and so on. So that's 1 2 is foreign key here. But what is it in the first table? It is primary key in the first table. Okay, so foreign key, when you say foreign key, it is actually foreign key in one table, but it is actually primary key in other. Okay, and because there is a relationship between those two tables. Okay, going forward, so normalization, so there were certain rules which were set on top of databases or database creation. So when we were creating different tables with different relationship between them, right? So they said if you follow this, it will be better. Okay, because what happens is, though databases is said to be organized, so there should be a rule which will tell that, okay, this is how you can organize it better. Correct. So I think that's where normalizations comes into picture. For example, 1f, okay, first normal form, says that there shouldn't be any repeating values in your row. So I think I've just mentioned that here as well. I'll just go ahead and then show you that. So I said that values in each cell should be atomic and table should not have no repeating groups. Okay, which means that your each cell should not repeat again in the same row, and then your each table should not have same data again and again. For example, I think I've taken an example here, which is customer favorite dishes. Okay, I'll just go ahead and then draw that here. Say for example, you have customers. Okay, so customer 1 is a Sumit, and his favorite dishes, this is favorite dishes, just ID. Okay, his favorite dishes are 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then you have one more person, say you have code multiverse. Okay, so this guy's favorite dishes are 4 and 6. 4 and 6. Okay, so that's your customers table. Okay, again, customers, not customer. Okay, I think we talked about that yesterday, right? Um, your table name should be in plural letters. Okay, in plural form, it's not been singular. Okay, so customer ID, customer name and favorite dish. Okay, that is there in the customers table, and then dishes table is one more table. Okay, where you will say, okay, first dish is something, second dish is something, third dish is something, fourth dish is something, and so on. Okay, so this is dish ID, this is your dishes table, this is dish ID, and you have dish name, and then you have say nothing. Okay, so just let's just say this much. So what is first thing? Say chicken. What is the second thing? Say paneer. Third is golgappa. Now next thing is what? Give me some names. Okay, then next. Sorry, what? Oh, mutton. Okay, you seem like a fan of mutton. Okay, so now you have these things, these things. Okay, and so what do you see? You see that there are few things repeating, which means favorite dish 1 is 2, favorite dish 2 is 3, favorite dish 3 is 4, and so on. Correct? He has repeating things in a same cell. It is not atomic. So atomic means what? It should have been something like this: favorite dish, favorite dish 1, and then it says 2. Okay? And then you might have one more column which says favorite dish 2, and then you might have one more column which says favorite dish 3. Okay, now both are example for what we are talking about. 4, and then say, I'm sorry, 6, and then you have 4, 6. Okay, so what am I saying? So the first one violates the first part of our definition, which is each cell should be atomic. This is not atomic because it has multiple values in there. Got it? So in order to make it atomic, you created multiple columns. Okay, and you made it as favorite dish 1, favorite dish 2, and favorite dish 3. So now they are atomic. But what does our second part says? It says table should not have no repeating groups, because it's a repeating group, right? Same group is repeating now. Favorite dish 1, favorite dish 2, favorite dish 3, the same column is repeating, or say, right? Same column or same row should not repeat. So that's about your first normal form. So how can you differentiate between them? You just create a new table called as customers dishes table. Okay, and then there what you'll have your customer ID, and then you'll have favorite dish ID. Okay, so customer ID is what? 1. What is his favorite dish ID? 2. Right, and then you will have 1, 3, and then you'll have 1, 4, and then you'll have 2, 4, then 2, 6. Correct? So now this looks good. Okay, why does this look good? Because customer ID group is not repeating, dish ID group is not repeating. So each things are atomic, but what is happening? You can see that rows are again repeating, right? So for that, what you do is you add one more column called as customer dish ID. Okay, and then you say 1, this is first row, right? And then 2, and then this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. So now what is happening? Each thing is unique. Okay, this is your first normalization. Got it? So they should the things which are which you specify as multiple, so it should be it should be atomic. So to make it atomic, you make sure that there are no repeating groups. To make sure that you have no repeating groups, if you want to create one more table, go ahead and create that. And then if there are repeating groups, again repeating rows, right, you create a new column, and then which I identifies it uniquely. Okay, so now that's about your first normal form. Okay, then what does second normal form says? Second normal form says that no value in a table should depend on part of key that can be used to uniquely identify a row. Okay, so for example, you have a events table. Okay, events table, so which means that you have a event ID, and then you have a event name. Okay, you have event date, and you have place where it is occurring. Okay, for example, event ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. Okay, and event name is what? Birthday. Event 2 name is what? Again, that is also say birthday only. Event 3 is what? Say marriage. Event 4 is also called as say some job party or whatever. Okay, and then now the next thing you have is date. Okay, say 6th July, whatever. Okay, 5 July 2021. Place is say, so one is Bidar, the other one is again say Bidar itself, but say date is in August 2020. Okay, and then say marriage. So when did you get married? 15 March 2020. Okay, and then say where do you stay? Darjeeling. Okay, uh, uh, pardon my spelling mistakes. Okay, and then say job party. Say you got job in 2022 because that's when I think you'll graduate. So 15th June. Okay, so now what's happening is that now look at this table. What is happening is that you assume that you have created event name and event date as a composite key. Composite key means if you unique, if you take them as a combination, that stands unique. Okay, that can act as a primary key. You can identify certain event. Is that true? Okay, if you take birth date and if you take birthday party, so they're unique, right? So first person's birthday is happening at 5th July, second person's birthday is happening at 15th August. So that's absolutely fine. You can take it as event date. Next, the third one is marriage, and that's also happening at 15th March. I mean, you can take this combination and then you can say that okay, this event happens at certain date, and you're sure about that. Okay, so and you are saying that okay, the combination of these two is what I call as my composite key. Okay, so now that's already fine. But what does R2 second normal form says that? It says no value in a table should depend on part of key that can be used as uniquely identified in a row. So now these two are used as to identify uniquely. Okay, so if you want to identify this row, you are taking this as uniquely. Correct, this is your composite key. Now but look at birthday and birthday, where is it happening? It's always happening in Bidar only. No matter which event date, it's always happening in Bidar. Okay, means you can take only part of it. So this is combination, right? Event name and event date is combination. So this is supposed to be unique, but what is unique? part of it, which is birthday. Birthday is always happening at Bidar. It's not. I'm not saying birthday at 5th July is happening at Bidar. Okay, I'm saying birthday itself is unique. So no matter which day, it's always happening in Bidar. Okay, so this is your composite key, but you're still able to identify that part of it, which is only birthday, only event name is happening at certain place. Means some other cell is being used to identify your composite key uniquely, only based on the half information, not full information. Okay, so those things are trouble. Okay, knowledge with half information is trouble, right? So similar thing. Okay, so how can you avoid it? Just create a new table which says event venue table or something. Okay, you know that each event now will happen, and say for example birthday will also always happen at Bidar. Okay, okay, and then you know note that marriage will always happen at Darjeeling. Okay, and then your job party will always happen at Darjeeling, right? So now what happened? This is okay. Okay, so to do this, what you do is you again give a event venue ID, and then event name, and then place. So event venue ID is 1, and then this is 2, and this is 3. Okay, now this looks good. Okay, this is now in the second normal form. Okay, so that's about second normal form, that whenever you have a composite key, okay, only part of it cannot be used to identify the what do you say, row, whole row, using another cell or whatever. Okay, then the third normal form is very easy to understand. Okay, it's because it just says value should not be stored if they can be calculated from another key. Okay, so for example, say you have orders table, okay, list of items, say items. These are all items which are listed on Amazon. So this is your order ID. 1 2 3 4 is your order ID. Okay, what is your order? Say for example, you like Pepsi. Ronaldo doesn't like, but you like. Okay, he doesn't like Coke, or he doesn't like Coke or Pepsi. What does he doesn't like? I think I saw it on his status again. Smith. Yeah, what does he doesn't like? Ronaldo. Ronaldinho. What is his name? Yeah. Cool. Okay. Anyways, so say Pepsi is say $20. Oh, now you remember. Okay, cool. Anyways, now this is $10. Say tennis racket is say $300. Okay, this is the actual price, correct? So Pepsi is $20, pizza is $40, burger is $10, and this tennis racket is $300. These are your list of items that you are selling in your list. Okay, in your website. Now, you want to give it at discounted price. Okay, you want to give say 20% off on everything. So that if you say 20% off on everything, now this becomes $16, correct? Now this becomes whatever, like this becomes 36 or whatever, 32, and then this becomes say 8, and then this becomes say 360 or whatever. Okay, sorry, 260 or whatever. Okay, I'm just assuming it to be, so you can calculate and then put it later. 260, 280 something. Okay, now what did happen is that I have created a new column called as discounted price. Okay, but discounted price can all and then what did I say? It is 20% on everything. Okay, I did not say that it is 20% only on Pepsi. I said 20% on all the items in your cart. Okay, so in that case, what you can see that this particular value, which is $16 or $32 whatever, this keys actually can be calculated from your actual price, correct? So that is what third normal form says. If something can be calculated, do not add it. Okay, so instead what you can say, you can maybe in your code only you can just mention the discounted price, saying the discounted price is say 20% or something, and whenever you're calculating the total price, that time only you discount it and then calculate it in your code. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Or just store discounted the discount percentage. Okay, discount percentage, store discount percentage so that you can calculate it later in the code again. But do not store the discounted price because it can be calculated from your previous thing. Now, can 20% be calculated from this? No, 20% is a unique value, right? But that $16 was a calculated value, so do not store that calculated value. Got it? Now, if you want to say that discounted price for Pepsi is $17, whereas discounted price for this one is 30. Say one sec. Say this is $20. Now this one says $12. Okay, because it's being ordered really high now, so you have surcharged it. Okay, and then this one is going at 2.99 because for $1 you will give a chocolate or something. Now, do you see any relationship between the discounts given for the different orders now? You don't, like, leave this 20% aside. Okay, now do you see any relationship between these things? They're random discounted price, right? So now each like whether it is Pepsi or pizza or burger, they're randomly discounted. So in that case, it is totally fine to store. But when you can calculate each row based on certain value, then in that particular case, do not store this calculated value. Okay, that's the idea. Did you get that? When it is common for everything, do not store it. Otherwise, you can store it. It is fine to store it. Okay. So that's about your third normal form. And then finally, you have something called as denormalization. Before we go to denormalization, so let's learn last property with normalization. It's that before you go for second normalization, right? Your table should be normalized in first normal form. Okay? And then before you go to third normal form, your table should be normalized in second normal form, and so on. Okay. So before you go with the next normal form, it should be compliant with the previous one. Okay, and then same thing applies for denormalization as well. Before you denormalize a table, make sure that it is at least normalized first. Okay, otherwise it doesn't make sense, right? If you have not purchased anything, how can you sell it? Okay, so next so denormalization would mean that, so as I said, normalization is just when you're just looking at normalization, what does it feel? It feels like you're just creating more and more tables and then relationship between them, right? You're creating more tables and then establishing newer relationships. Okay, that's how you look at it. So whenever you're querying, what happens? You're actually dealing with multiple tables. You're actually getting the data from different tables and then aggregating the information, which means it might be slow. When you want to result out something, it might be slow, right? So that's when denormalization comes in. So denormalization is making your results perform faster at the cost of what? At the cost of consistency. Because normalization would mean that your data is consistent throughout. But when you want to denormalize, because you want to gain speed on your queries, so that time what you do, you go ahead and then add one more column whichever is required for you. For example, in this say in items table itself, okay, say if I've created favorite items, and then customer dishes example, you remember, right? So if you remember that customer favorite dishes, then each time customer orders something, what happens? Orders table will have information from customer table also. Orders table will have information from dishes table also, and then it will calculate something, and then it will have a total value. Okay, so it will have. So instead of that, why not I add all the total value in the main table itself, order table itself. So something like that. Okay, so denomination is something that you can add certain information in your table at the cost of consistency. So querying will increase, querying the speed of the queries will increase, but your tables will lose consistency. That's it. Then querying is just getting how you the information from your database. Okay. So querying can be in order to get the information, in order to update the information. Okay, that's about your querying. So going forward, we'll do little bit of querying once we install, Postgres and MongoDB in your machine. So that's why I'm just skipping it, just giving a hint at what it is. So it's set of statements which are used in order to create, update, and then manipulate your data or tables in database. Okay. Then indexing is something that, indexing is just a concept. All these three things: indexing, transaction, and stored procedure. Transaction we have already talked about. Indexing is a concept that is something is being queried a lot. Okay, so for example, your favorite dishes, right? Customer has a favorite dishes. Now favorite dishes table is being queried a lot. Dishes table is queried a lot based on your favorite dishes items, right? So in that case, what you do, you create an index on favorite dishes id, because something is querying fast. If you index them, what happens is querying becomes even more faster. Okay, so if something is being queried a lot, okay, a customer is querying his favorite dishes all the time. Each time he comes in, he queries his favorite dishes. Okay, he looks at his favorite dishes and orders the same thing. So what we do, we create an index on top of favorite dishes, and then so that we can access the favorite dishes anytime. It becomes much more faster. Transactions we already know, and then store procedures is set of things, okay, set of SQL commands that you run each time. But it could be really lengthy, it could be combination of tens or thousands. Okay, so what you do is you just put them in a single SQL statement and you just run it all the time. Okay, you store it and then you run it, because it's a procedure. For example, if you want to say you have your mobile app. What mobile app does, the moment you open that, what it will do, it will list all the hotels near you, and it will also list the favorite dishes for you. Correct. So what are you doing, you're selecting all these if select star from all hotels nearby you based on location, and select star from customer id, and you're getting the favorite dishes. Something which is done all the time. Each time a customer opens this, you're querying these two. Correct. Assume that it is a stored procedure. Now you're just running the stored procedure all the time. You're saying, okay, each time he comes, run this procedure. Okay, something like that. And then final thing is access policies. Access policies would just mean that what do you mean by access in simple terms? Okay, when you say access, it means that whether you have permission to do something or not. Okay, similarly, when you say access policies, it means that whether do you have permission to read a certain database, or do you have permission to write on top of that database and something. Okay, so each table can be given different accesses, and or you can give on top of databases itself, right? Database is the whole thing, whereas tables are underlying things, right? So you can give access at the global level for a whole database, or you can give it at table level. Okay, so you can give both read write permissions. Then SQL injection. So SQL injection would is just a way how hackers can exploit your queries. For example, if you're saying, say, assume this is your front end form, okay, where you have your first name and you are taking your age. Say you're collecting some user information. This is a user form. This is name, and then this is age. You enter Sumit and you enter 21. Right? But how does it comes into picture? Behind the scene is insert into users, which because users is a table name. Okay, and then you have the data types, which is name, sorry, column names, which is name and age, and then you say values. Okay, and then you'll pass your name comma age. Right? So now a name and age will get replaced with Sumit and 21 each time. Okay, this is a function to insert user details. What are you doing? You're just returning this details where name and age are coming as parameters. So each time you insert something in your front end user form, you're calling this function. Okay, and you're inserting something in a database. Am I right? Now, so look at how it gets converted behind this scene. It sees that name will come and it will get converted into what? It will get converted into Sumit. and then age will be 21. Correct? It's supposed to be this. Am I right? Now, for example, someone updated your query like this. Okay, in the front end form only, you sent Sumit, but instead of age, what they sent is they sent this. Okay, now what will happen? This will come, and then this will become something like this. Okay, it will be like, now what do you see? You're inserting, correct? Then what you're doing? You're also dropping the whole users table. Someone is injecting a SQL in your form and then exploiting whatever you've written. Okay, anybody can do it. So if you have thousands of users information and somebody suddenly does this, right? You have lost everything. Correct? This is SQL injection. We'll go ahead and then learn about how to avoid that going forward. Okay. So I just wanted to tell you about what is SQL injection is. So that's why I just told you. Okay. Then final thing is ORM. I think it just stands for object relation mapping. But I think it will be better if we take that with NoSQL installation, and when we try to access NoSQL, right? So query on top of that. So that time I think once I do that, both SQL and NoSQL querying, I think that time I will be able to explore that ORM concept better. So we'll keep it at that. Okay. So that's it for today. I'm gonna. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on bell icon to get notification for new videos on your favorite channel, Code Multiverse.